Imagine you're rich, so you go out to party in a nightclub, and suddenly they start bringing out bottles in your name, and people wonder the logical thing in effect.
Who the fuck is
Hey, yo,
Malone
Malone, you going
Lam?
real?
Well, this happened to this kid, a kid from Singapore, who along with his friends just stole 4,100 bitcoins, which is equivalent to more than $230 million, and all thanks to a sophisticated social engineering attack. Today, we're going to see how they planned one of the biggest hits in the history of cryptocurrencies and how they quickly lost their minds with models, mansions, and luxury cars. Malone Lam arrived in the United States from Singapore in October 2023. He was 20 years old and managed to travel to California with the WIVER program that allows foreigners to travel to the United States for tourism or business reasons for 90 days. In Los Angeles, Jeandiel Serrano was waiting for him, a friend he had met on the internet. He also had other friends, and together they made up a group in which they were Malone Lam, Jeandiel Serrano, Veer Chetal, Danish Can, and another young man under the pseudonym Chen, whose real name is still unknown. 90 days passed and Malone Lam did not want to return to Singapore. He stayed in Los Angeles and he and his friends continued spending hours and hours in Discord calls, plotting a plan to get rich. Their goal was to carry out one of the biggest hits in the history of cryptocurrencies. The first thing they needed was a victim with an amount of cryptocurrencies. But of course, how do you find someone like that? Generally, people who have made a lot of money with cryptocurrencies try to be discreet. Then one day they found a jewel for sale in a Telegram group, a database of Genesis users, an exchange of cryptocurrencies that went bankrupt in 2023. User data leaks are extremely common, most likely. The point is that normally data is leaked to which we do not give importance, such as a user email, maybe an IP address, sometimes even a telephone. A password can be leaked, but it is not so common, and that is why we do not give it so much importance. But in this case, the information they obtained from that database was key, not because they had no password, but because it served to identify the victim and prepare a specific social engineering attack for him to steal everything. The victim, whom we will call Charlie because he has decided to remain anonymous, seemed to be an initial Bitcoin investor, but they needed more information once they got his data. They began to send him notifications from Google that his account had been compromised. They spent a whole day filling his mobile with notifications to scare him. That feeling of fear was going to be the key to psychologically manipulate him in the second phase. The next day, Charlie was already totally paranoid about what was happening with his account, and suddenly he received a call from Google technical support. Evidently, it was not Google technical support, but Veer Chetal, who called him using the phone spoofing technique. People ask you to call by changing the name or number that appears. It could appear that a Google phone is calling you, but it is really a total scammer who pretending to be Google customer service. Veer manipulated Charlie into giving him the reset code for his password. From here, the gang was able to access Charlie's Gmail account and OneDrive and continue collecting information, and the truth is they found gold. It turns out that browsing through his accounts, they found that he had an account in another Gemini cryptocurrency exchange, and from the screenshots, they found Charlie was lying. The next step was clear to call him again, but this time pretending to be a Gemini security employee. This time it was Jeandiel Serrano who got on the phone and told him that his account was compromised and he had to transfer $3 million in crypto from Gemini to another wallet, and here comes the best part. You will think that this wallet was controlled by the scammers. Charlie gave them the $3 million, and that's ITL. No, actually it's more complex than that they did to him. Download Anydesk. Anydesk is a software that serves to create a kind of bridge between your computer and another. You share a code, and so another person can enter your computer and control it remotely. This is not just for scammers. It is something common in companies for computer technicians to solve employee problems, but it is extremely common for scammers to use it well. Charlie thought it was a good idea to install Anydesk and give access to his computer to the nice young man from Gemini, who during all this time was talking to him on the phone. So while the scammers saw in real time everything that appeared on the screen, they tried to manipulate Charlie to show the private keys of his main Bitcoin wallet. Charlie was scared because he thought he had been hacked, and that feeling of urgency makes you make mistakes, and a relationship of trust was created with the thieves because in that moment of urgency, they appeared as the saviors, in this case posing as the Gemini security team, when the keys appeared on the screen. Malone was fast, and in the blink of an eye, he had stolen the more than 4,000 bitcoins that Charlie had in the wallet, and the rest is history. Now they had to launder their money. What they did was exchange Bitcoin for Ethereum, then for Litecoin, and then for Monero, and then again Bitcoin, and start over like this several times until they thought that the money was already untraceable. Evidently, it was not. There were many errors that we will talk about now, but for example, Jeandiel Serrano registered on an exchange called tradeagray.com to exchange Monero and registered without a VPN. Then his IP address, which was located in this mansion in northern Los Angeles, and which is rented for $35,000 a month. Coincidentally, it was Malone's birthday, and he celebrated it in a big way with her man in various parts of the nightclub and free drinks for everyone. There were days when Malone's bill reached $500,000. Malone Lam, who was left alone in Los Angeles, got bored, so he rented a private jet and moved to Miami. He rented this mansion valued at $10 million and started buying many luxury cars. Porsches, Ferraris, and Lamborghinis, in total 31 cars, all of these, and jewelry and watches and expensive clothes. Everything was going well. Veer Chetal was a little more cautious than Lami Serrano, but he also rented a Lamborghini Urus for his parents to drive as a gift. What he didn't know was that suddenly a van would appear, stop his parents, and kidnap them between 6 thugs to ask for a ransom in cryptocurrency. Someone had found out what they had done, and they were not exactly peaceful people. August 19th, 2024. A young man who calls himself Zach XBT on the internet was at an airport when an alarm went off on his cell phone. A transaction of $600,000 had been made to a small exchange that was not used to handling such numbers. Why this alert came to this kid, it is because he is not just any kid. Zach XBT is a guy dedicated to blockchain research and analysis. That is why he has a lot of alerts configured that go off when these types of strange transactions occur. By the time he got to the boarding gate, he got another alert. This time, it was a transaction of $1 million, and then another alert, this time of $2 million before the plane took off. He tracked the money on the blockchain from his phone and had already discovered where the funds came from in a wallet that contained hundreds of millions of dollars in Bitcoin and that had not moved since 2012. With the tracking of the money, he was able to verify two things: that it was a robbery, because someone was trying to launder the money very quickly, and the thief or thieves were not that good either, because they had made some mistakes in the money laundering process, such as reusing wallets where they mixed the laundered money with the dirty money with the blockchain analysis. He discovered that the victim was a client of the bankrupt Genesis exchange. So he spoke on Twitter with the Genesis administrator to put him in contact with the victim, Charlie. So Charlie decided to hire Zach XBT to find out who had been the bastard who had played him. And here comes one of the most fascinating points of this story. Zach XBT put a tweet commenting that he had seen a suspicious transfer of 4,086 bitcoins, and for most it is a tweet that would go unnoticed. But there was someone who did not remain silent. Suddenly, a confidant began to send messages to Zach. He said he had information about the thieves, it turns out. It was someone anonymous from the gang's environment who not only had information, but also had the videos they recorded while they were doing the hit. It was 90 minutes of footage in which you could see. The screenshots of how all this happened means that not only did they make the mistake of recording everything with their users and their voices and everything, but one of them couldn't resist the temptation to share the video in another group chat that he had, either to brag that they had stolen $240 million or because they couldn't hold back the emotion. The point is that he made a fatal mistake when sharing the video.
Oh my god!
Way.
Oh my god!
No fucking way.
$242 million! Yes! Bro, I'm gonna spaz out! No! We're done! I'm spazzed out! Do you know how much money, brothers?
Quarter of a billion.
Because in those videos, the real names of some were leaked. Here we can see how the name of Veer Chetal is accidentally leaked while Zach was investigating. He shared everything with the police. They were able to verify that. Jeandiel Serrano had registered without using a VPN, and they were able to verify that the IP address came from the Los Angeles mansion. Malone Lam was also already in the spotlight because he was attracting a lot of attention first in the nightclubs in Los Angeles and then in Miami. On September 18, 2024, Jeandiel Serrano returned from his Maldives vacation, got off the plane, and was arrested instantly. It is said that a police officer told Jeandiel's girlfriend that if she did not want to cause more problems, it would be better not to say anything to anyone. And evidently, she picked up the phone and warned the entire group that they were being hunted. So they took the opportunity to delete everything they could Telegram conversations. Discord calls all that same night. Malone's neighbors woke up because of the noise from the street. The authorities had entered the mansion that Malone rented at dawn. They took him away in handcuffs. During the raid, they seized 10 of the 31 luxury cars. Meanwhile, on the other side of the country, in Connecticut, the police were investigating a third person, Veer Chetal, whose parents had been kidnapped while driving a Lamborghini Urus. The kidnapping came to nothing because the police began to follow them, and they had an accident, and the criminals fled. Although they were later caught, it is suspected that there could have been an organizer who hired the 6 criminals and paid for their trips from Florida to Connecticut to extort Chetal. In other words, it could be something planned by someone who already knew about the robbery before the news came out and who knew the identity of at least one of the members of the gang. We have already said that coincidentally in the video that was leaked of the capture of the robbery, the name of Veer Chetal appears. It could be the organizer of the kidnapping was someone who received that video likewise. By October 2024, the FBI had seized $70 million from the robbery. The sports cars and other luxury items they bought have been seized and will be auctioned off to recover the money that will be divided between the state and the victim. Still, there are $100 million whose whereabouts are unknown. Another of those involved in the robbery lives in the United Kingdom, according to Zach, XBT, but there is no further information about it. About Chen, nothing is known, and it is possible that not even Malone or Serrano know the real name behind the pseudonym, because the loot was divided among 5 people. It is likely that the remaining 100 million are in the hands of Dennis and Chen. Malone Lam and Jeandiel Serrano are accused of electronic fraud and association for money laundering, of course. Malone is not helped by the small detail that at the time of his arrest he did not have a job or was studying in the United States, because for the law he was technically an illegal immigrant. This story teaches us that greed and wanting to show off never leads us to anything good. What would have happened if this boy had kept a low profile instead of showing off money that wasn't even his? I read you in the comments.